you? This is Elle and Max. We are your hosts. We're going to be using our character names to remain anonymous and focus on the topics that we're here to discuss. Some of them we might agree, and some we might disagree. Our podcast will be live at 2 p.m. and will be recorded so you can listen to us anytime. We'll also be updating our Facebook page with scheduled topics, and it gives you guys a chance to answer questions, leave comments, ideas for topics. Just a reminder, any hateful or derogatory comments, you will be deleted and blocked. This is a safe place. So again, we're Elle and Max, your hosts, and although we're not based out of Hawkins, we are based out of New England.
Thanks, Max, for that awesome introduction. Yes, welcome to the Upside Down. This is Elle, short for 11. Many of you know her from Stranger Things. She spent most of her life fighting to survive and using the negative things that happened to her to enhance her superpowers and find ways to help others. Trying to figure out who she is and how she fits into the world, she finds her chosen family with the best ride or die friends. I identify with her character in so many ways. As a childhood cancer survivor, most of my childhood, my head was shaved and I didn't fit into this world. I have spent every year of my life fighting and have used my energy to survive and to try to help others. I earned a bachelor's degree in psychology and childhood development. I've worked with children and families in the mental health and medical fields, and I've been an advocate for those who cannot fight for themselves mentally, medically, and as a certified paralegal, I've helped many navigate the legal world.
Thank you, Elle. So again, I am Max. Max is short for Maxine. Maxine from Stranger Things, as you guys may know, she grew up in a broken home. She was abused by her older brother, Billy. Throughout the show, she searches to find out where she belongs and really just longs to feel wanted and loved. The last season, Max really shows up, shows her strength, her resilience, and gains so much confidence. She has to fight her inner demons to protect her loved ones and friends. I identify with her character because of her strength and her ability to overcome the dark side and find out where she truly belongs. I've been a single parent for most of my adult life, and I've had to overcome many obstacles to get to where I am today. I've been in therapy for years, healing and working on my own mental health, and it took me years to find myself and to truly be happy. I earned a bachelor's degree in psychology and criminal justice, and I've been working with families for over 25 years in different capacities. I'm also an advocate for mental health, women's rights, and domestic violence.
Thanks, Max. With this podcast, we are hoping to provide our audience, followers, listeners with helpful information, resources for all walks of life, not just moms, not just women. And also, we want to have a safe space to talk about the issues that matter.
So each episode, we will have specific topics to discuss, but we're also going to provide you with some facts and some helpful resources that you can take with you.
We would also like to spotlight a local business for each episode. So we will ask our listeners to message us with their favorite small business, whether it be a store, an online store, a restaurant. Anything goes as long as it comes from the person and not an AI review. We will also be reviewing everyday products firsthand and share with our audience. Don't you hate then when you go on social media and you see a bunch of advertisements for products and you're looking up reviews and they all seem to be very robotic? Well, we are not robots, so you'll be having these reviews done by actual people.
Yes, thank you, Elle. You mentioned AI. The ads these days, we definitely need to try some of these things ourselves. We're also going to be taking a deep look into Stranger Things. Some of the characters we love, maybe some that are not our favorite. What it was like growing up in the 80s. The hair, the clothes, songs that bring us back. Growing up in an era where we didn't have cell phones and we had to be street smart and be home by dark when the street lights came on. We're also going to add some really fun stuff for us to do, talking about some of our favorite 80s artists, maybe playing some songs. We can, go back into the day, maybe bringing back some of those brands that we haven't seen for, 25, 30 years now. And who remembers 80s sitcoms? We're going to talk about your favorite sitcom or TV show and some food. What do you guys miss? What do you miss from the 80s? Because I know that the food these days is way different than it was back then. And maybe some of your favorite stores. We have, very limited stores, I feel like, these days when we go back to the 80s and the malls were becoming upcoming and hanging out and going to the arcade, riding bikes. And one big question is, could kids today survive growing up in the 80s?
Absolutely not, but that'll be a topic for discussion during one of our episodes for sure. Some of the other topics we'll be discussing include women's rights. We are women here. It would be interesting for us to dive into and to inform how different it is living in each state, what resources they offer, the laws, how to protect your rights in today's world. Domestic violence, it's such a taboo topic, and a lot of people don't talk about it because, they feel that they're being shamed or judged. Sexual assault, again, so much of this isn't discussed because people feel like even though they are a victim of sexual or domestic assault, that they're too embarrassed to talk about, like they wouldn't be supported, that they'd be shamed for that. So honestly, I am very proud to be able to have that topic of discussion. This isn't something that pertains to me, not something that I have experience with or have to worry about, but it is something that our kids are hearing about and our kids are actually seeing in today's world is the presence of ICE. Some communities have this ongoing and some don't. How can different areas safely protest and prevent violence in their communities? Have the conversation. How should we handle illegal immigration? When an illegal immigrant commits and goes in front of a judge, when they commit a crime and go in front of a judge, should they be deported? Illegal immigrants that have been here working and going to school and raising families and not living off the government, should they be left alone? Should we just focus on closing the border and being human to these immigrant humans that are here? I think that would be a great episode to open up to get some feedback from listeners and followers. What do you think, Max?
Yeah, Elle, you're right. I love that idea. And I've been fortunate myself that I've also not had to encounter ICE in that capacity. But I do know, even being an American citizen, I have still been in fear myself of ICE coming to my door and what to do in that situation. So I definitely think in that episode we can add some, legal facts like we talked about earlier in the podcast, that we're going to provide some facts on like what to do if you do have an ICE agent come to your door, and you are a U.S. citizen, because that's happening. I think that brings us into another topic that we're going to talk about, probably more than just one episode, maybe sprinkled out, is social media and fake news. Because again, I think watching social media and all these different sites, and you're seeing all these things about ICE, and you're seeing, different people's views, and you don't know which sites to trust and how to find the truth. So we're going to kind of help you guys with that. We're going to help you find out which sites are trustworthy and where you can find facts and that are not opinions. And, even going back to Elle talking about women's rights and domestic violence, like we hope to be able to provide you guys with some statistics on that, because I think a big misconception around some of these topics is that it doesn't happen here in the US, and it doesn't happen to us, and it's not going to happen to my family. So it's important for people to have statistics to back that up and be able to use social media as a tool to inform us about real news and being able to tell the difference.
Yes, because in so many difficult topics, what happens is if you've never been in their shoes, you never know what it's actually like. I'm not an illegal immigrant, so I will never know what it feels like to be afraid to go to my job or pick my kids up from school or anything like that. And same with domestic violence. So many people are so quick to judge the victims because they've never been in that situation. And to me, being able to talk about it, being able to hear other people's stories so that I can learn what it's like to be in their shoes, to me, will promote more of a culture of empathy and less of a culture of judgment and people jumping to conclusions. I just think that being able to, for us to talk about it, for bringing facts to life and to hear other people's stories and sharing them. I think that what else is really important, and I think that most families, no matter if they're middle class or upper class, is how are we surviving right now in today's world? Where do we go to buy groceries? How can we save money when we're just waiting for the next paycheck to come in? What resources are available and how can we apply? And, you know, a lot of the state and federal websites, it's very hard to read all of the lingo and be able to determine, well, am I eligible for this? And what exactly do I need to do? Affordable housing is such a difficult topic because for those who need it are on waiting lists for most of their lives, and for those who don't need it are taking advantage of the situation. So my question would be, if you're a criminal and you have a record, should you be allowed to apply for housing? Should your housing voucher be revoked if you're living for free or for very minimal cost and you're using your time instead of being a productive citizen who's, you know, giving back to the community and paying your bills? You know, they're committing crimes and active violences and drug deals and all that. Should their voucher then be revoked? And should there be a limit for people on housing? I don't know if I should say it like that, but should there be conditions or provisions? Because more and more people are adjusting their lifestyle to the voucher requirements. And it often is getting abused. And again, the people that really need it aren't able. So where do they go? Are they homeless? You know, are they living with family? And what if they don't have family? It's just such a complex topic that we will dive into in one of our episodes.
Yes, thank you, Elle. I think those are really great questions, and housing is a challenge for a lot of people right now, immigrants and citizens. I think affordable housing is kind of a funny term when you relate it to New England, because I'm not sure that there is such a thing. I feel like, again, we'll get into this more, but like affordable housing doesn't even exist anymore. It's just really, really hard. And you're right, like those people that really need it, unfortunately, don't always get it. You also said something else that reminded me. One of the other things that we plan on doing through our podcasts is, yes, we're going to share our thoughts, our opinions, some facts that we've gotten from, different sources, whether it be online or, the good old library books that we can go and like actually look stuff up. But we're also going to interview people in different capacities. So one topic that we do want to talk about is hair loss, and the different types, the causes, different severities of hair loss, myths behind it. But again, going back to that social media, you see ads on social media or even on TV all the time for all these different supplements and medications and solutions. And again, we're gonna get down to the nitty gritty. We're gonna talk about some things that work, that are helpful, maybe some that are out on the market that are harmful and that can actually make hair loss worse. And we can maybe even transfer this into some other ailments that people may have, like arthritis or, something else, and what all these supplements, even like weight loss supplements, I think too, out there on the market, and, what's actually good for you and what's not. But we do already have someone who is committed to do an interview with us. And this person is a reputable hair loss doctor that's right here in New England. So we'll be able to interview them, and it will be, close to home for those of you that are in New England, and you can get some real facts from someone who's trained.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about this topic. Just speaking for myself, I have a type of hair loss. I've actually gone through hair loss twice in my life due to medical reasons. And I have a feeling within a year or two, or maybe 3, it's going to come back as I get older, because a lot of topic of conversations that I've been hearing are coming from other moms, that I'm friendly with, while either, dropping the kids off at school or going to the salon or what have you. Perimenopause is such a big deal right now, and so many women are looking for help. And unfortunately, they are getting caught up on the online stuff. And when I found this doctor, she is the only doctor in New England that I was able to speak to, because most of the hair loss places are, I don't know what you call them, but you basically go in and they're not doctors, and they want thousands of dollars up front. They can't guarantee that they'll fix your problem, and they never address the issue. A lot of people that suffer from hair loss, it cannot be replaced, by doing hair transplants or cell replacements, because they have to have a diagnosis of what is causing their hair loss. So I cannot wait to do an interview with this doctor. And I think that it might actually be helpful if listeners in the New England area, if they have found a doctor as well, and get some facts. I say facts like it's nothing, but it's such a big deal, because most of these supplements that people are spending lots of money on, they do not work, and they can wreak havoc on your body, and they can even make the hair loss worse. So this is a good topic for us to discuss, and I definitely think that we'll be diving into the weight loss supplements as well, because I think a lot of this is all tied in together.
Yeah, I agree. And I think even you mentioned the premenopause too. I think that's something we can get into because, being an older woman myself, no one really warned me about premenopause. And then all of a sudden you wake up one day and it's 110 degrees and you have itchy armpits and you have no idea what's going on.
Yeah. Yep. And your hair is coming out as you brush your hair. It's like it's all on your hairbrush, and it's like, what is happening to me?
Yep.
So, yeah, and again, it's a stigma. If dare we talk about this in public, dare we talk about this, on a social media platform. So, I'm not afraid to say it. Max, are you?
No, and I think you made a good point though, because I feel like going back, a little bit earlier, we talked about that we're going to be talking about women's rights. And, I hate to think that, if this was a man's problem, it would be all over the internet and all over the news. And they would have so many studies and tests done. They didn't even really start working on women, studies and medical things with women until the 90s. So it's like, if it was a man's problem, there would be a solution already instead of us out here living us trying to struggle and live our lives.
Never mind the fact that insurance companies, not, I wouldn't say most, I'll have to do some more digging, but a lot of the insurance companies don't want to pay for women in these products and these procedures and all of that. But, you know, again, I will do a little digging, but I've heard that for erectile dysfunction, that is paid for by insurance. So,
Oh, I'm sure Viagra probably is too.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know my primary care basically when I went for my physical and said that, I was having some premenopause symptoms. Basically, what he told me was there's very few medication for menopause or premenopause, and what is out there is the side effects alone are sometimes more severe than what you're even dealing with. So he was basically like, if you can kind of deal with your symptoms, you're better off.
Yeah, because it's hormone replacements. And if you are at high risk for developing cancer, there you go. And how long is premenopause or menopause supposed to last? It varies in each person. But if you're going to take the hormone replacements, from my knowledge, and I'm not a doctor, you know, you don't want to stay on them too long because they can cause cancer.
Absolutely. So yeah, there definitely needs to be some more research for women's issues.
Yeah, and
Sure.
I honestly think between your ambition and my drive, we can probably interview a doctor or two on this topic as well.
Oh yes, I think we could.
Yes. So I never like talking about politics. I wouldn't say I'm not well versed, but I'm not well versed in all areas. So I did ask a teenager this question. Who do you think the president should be? And these are the answers I got. Somebody who is younger. They don't think that an old man should be president. And I said, well, what is old to you? Well, probably anyone over the age of 75. I said, okay. And what about a president should be, would be a good president? I don't know if I said that right, but maybe someone who's more balanced, someone who's not crazy.
Someone who has healthy mental health.
Yeah. I said, what would be the importance in a president's job? Like, what would be important to you? And the teenager said, well, a lot of small businesses are going under because of the economy and they can't withstand the way the economy is. So, someone who is advocating for small businesses. I'm like, that's decent.
Yeah, I like that.
Another point, and this is something that I definitely agree with more than all of these points, is someone that isn't in a party, because a lot of people have said to me, oh, you're a Democrat because you didn't want the current person in office. No, that's not true.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
always vote.
more about your values than your party.
Yeah, and I think that if a person who's running for presidency happens to be a Republican, if they are able to like vary from strict Republican ideals. Someone can be a Republican but not agree with all of the Republican issues, which to me, that's on point.
Yeah.
Someone who's focusing on building allies and not bombing other countries. I mean, I don't think we should say much more with that right now, because we're gonna get a lot of hate mail, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, just yeah. And I said, well, if 75 is too old, what age should they be? And the teenager said, well, someone who has had real life experiences. And I said, well, how old do you have to be to have real life experiences? I said, do you think I've had real life experiences? He's like, yeah, mom, you're old. I was like, okay. So I would say at least older than 35. We'll leave it at that without giving away my age.
I love those questions though, and I love that they were open ended, so you kind of allowed them to answer them, or how they felt would be fit.
Yeah, because ultimately, to me, this isn't personal. I mean, I don't like the man, but this is supposed to be someone that represents all of us, somebody that listens to all of us and doesn't have their own personal agenda. Um, I don't think that
Agreed.
I don't think that's too much to ask, and it's really shocking that that is not how how people like our current president is elected. But
Well, it's funny because I never thought I would be too picky, right, about the president. And I still don't think I am, but I think something that I guess I didn't realize was important to me until now, what you kind of touched on a little bit, was like the representation, right? So like for me, I feel like I want a president that can stand up, in front of these press people and be on TV and is confident and they speak very eloquently and they know what they're talking about and they have facts and they're respectful. Like that's, I guess, kind of like what I feel like should represent the United States of America, like one of the most powerful countries in the world. And I feel like the person who represents us needs to have some sort of eloquency, if that's like even a word, but like just some sort of like demure. I don't know. I just feel like we have trashy, and just the way that he talks and presents himself, even if he was educated on the topic, he doesn't make it sound like he is.
yeah, making up words like bigly, is that one of the words he uses?
I don't know.
It's just every time I hear the man speak, I just like keel over laughing. And I mean, it was
Yeah,
ne-
like
it was
other countries are like laughing at us when
yes,
he's up talking. Like,
yes. And again, I have to do more research with fake news and everything. But I think that if you're a logical thinker, you know that he was involved with the Epstein stuff. And I cannot believe that our sitting president is somebody who was involved with trafficking. I just, I, to me, it's disgusting. And to me, that we're allowing this person to remain in office. I don't even have to read files. I've seen enough, even before he became president, to know that he was a part of it. Maybe he didn't bring them in, but he was at the parties. There's pictures everywhere. Again, I could be wrong about how much he was involved in, but I will do my due diligence and research, real sites, not fake sites.
yeah, I mean, I think regardless of how much he was involved, being involved at all is, I agree, keeps you it should keep you from being president. Absolutely. Um, I can't, sadly, and this is maybe my own just, you know, dark view on this world from things that I've experienced and heard. It doesn't shock me. Human trafficking brings $150 billion into this country every year. And we all know that unfortunately, money is very powerful and money runs everything. So it's very sad to me and it's very disgusting to me. but it's not surprising to me.
It's not surprising, but it makes me sick. And it makes me sick that he's still sitting there. And it makes me sick that he keeps deterring from the issue. I mean, to me, a real man, I would, if it has to be a man, I would want a real man in office, someone who owns their shit. And I'm not getting that at all. Like, to me, a real man or woman, if they were had a history of bad behavior, they would own it and apologize. And to me, that would make him a decent human being in some respects, not in all. And that's never
Absolutely.
going to happen.
Absolutely. I think taking accountability is super important.
It's just,
But I think, that kind of segues into another topic that we're going to talk about, and that's parenting. Because I think, yes, we're talking about the president of the United States, but you just mentioned, interviewing a younger kid, like they're our future. So a lot of, I think, our podcasts unintentionally and sometimes intentionally is going to steer back to parenting. You and I are both parents. I have, we have children that range, from preteen to adulthood. So, we've been kind of doing this for a little bit. And, right now, the world, like we've kind of talked about tonight, is really heavy. And, what does that look like for our kids? Like what is important for us to teach them, to set them up for life? What skills are they going to need for a job, for, college? And, what does that look like when it comes to, getting through middle school and high school, with bullying and social media? Like we talked a little bit earlier about social media. And I think a big piece of that is educating your children on social media and how to be safe. And also being aware of bullying online and what that can look like and how that can affect not just your child, but your whole family. So I think, parenting is going to be a huge topic, like I said, overall for us. And even just going back to little kids, our kids are a little bit older, but, you know, how are people affording childcare, and how, like, that cost and what that looks like? And maybe people that have, chose to homeschool, what that kind of looks like too. And I'm actually excited to dive in and maybe get some more information about homeschooling, because I'm very ignorant on it. I don't know a lot about it. I think I have some views on it, and they may be biases, and I'll recognize that. I think something that listeners are going to learn about, Elle and I too, is that we're very open. We try to be non-judgmental, but we're also aware sometimes of our biases, and we'll be able to admit them.
yes, definitely able to admit that. Um, I'm not pretending that I know what it's like to be in someone else's shoes. I'm not trying to say that there is, you know, let's rate parents from 1 to 10 and let's create a criteria. Parenting, there's never going to be a book, a how to. You can have people say, well, you should do this and you should do that, but every family is different. Even if you have, a mom and a dad at home, and the dad goes to work and the mom raises the kids, it doesn't mean your kid is going to turn out to be the golden child versus a single mom who is struggling to pay the bills. It doesn't work like that. We're just kind of looking at this from a view that if you're a parent, you need to do your job. And if your kid is acting out, if your kid is suffering and you're not doing your job, then honestly, I am not ashamed to call you out on it. Not as a personal thing, but as, come on, people, we need to do better. And if you need help being a parent because you're struggling or don't know what to do and you don't have the resources, we're going to help you. We're going to make sure that we're letting people know the resources that we have to give out, and we would do the work to help you get the resources if we don't have them on hand. Um, Unfortunately, both Max and I have seen a lot, and we do have knowledge about topics that you're not going to hear about in the media, because a lot of times people will feel ashamed to say, well, this is happening and I don't know what to do, because there's so many stigmas that are attached to certain situations. And I think that anyone who's listening knows what I'm talking about. So if you're not comfortable talking about this openly and you want to message us, we are here to listen. We will do our best not to judge and provide you with the resources. So there's
Yeah.
that.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for mentioning the resources. I think that's so important. And like you said, like not trying to like to but just share our own personal experiences, because sometimes sharing those experiences can be more helpful than you realize for other people.
Yeah, and I guess my point is, like, it doesn't have to be personal. Like, I will gladly put out there different situations, different experiences, different resources. And, you know, a lot of times there are going to be situations where there's nothing you can do about it. And that's unfortunate. But to that point, I think it is important for people to know that if you're in the situation with your child, or as a parent, know that calling the police isn't going to work. Taking someone to court isn't going to work. And this is why we need change in certain parts of the country. And I'm even on board with starting the change, you know, sending a message to our state representatives, signing petitions, things like that, because right now we are stuck in the upside down. It is not working for mostly anyone that I know.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I love that. Like, I hope that, I guess my hope for this podcast is that we can reach more people and we can advocate more and work to get some laws and things passed, or things, to help things get better. Like ultimately, even if we help one person, I feel like I would feel good, but I would love to help at like a bigger level.
Definitely a bigger level. It is, it's amazing to me that depending on which state you live in will depend on who is making the laws, who is making the changes. I don't think, and maybe I'm wrong, I didn't realize that in some states, some of these laws or provisions are being made by an elected official, not by people voting. To me, that's disturbing. In New England, oh yeah, Max, we need to talk about our pets, don't we?
Apparently, mine wanted to introduce herself. It's actually her birthday, so I can't even get mad at her.
Happy birthday.
You.
Yeah, we got a lot of kids at home. I think that's a good topic. That would be a very light-hearted topic to discuss. Our other kids, right?
Yes, I think we should definitely have a fur baby segment. And if people want to share photos and stuff with us, I wouldn't hate that at all.
I would totally love that. I mean, I have photos that will make you laugh so hard. Yes, fur babies all day long.
Yes, we definitely need to add that to our parenting segment.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I've seen a lot of like fake ads about I'll say it, dog training. Um,
Yes.
I am a dog person, but there's a lot of fake ads about dog training. And I am kind of upset about this because I have a puppy right now and he's crazy. And I'm trying to train him. And the minute you type in, well, my dog is doing this, what can I do? All of a sudden, like everything on my Facebook stream is like, oh, click here if you want a dog trainer. Oh, buy this and we'll send you a thing on how to train your dog. It's like, oh my God.
It's definitely overbearing. I am also a dog person, as you could tell since she introduced herself. Um, and I get the same thing on my feed. I did actually hire a trainer, but it was not from somebody that I got on one of those sites. It was like somebody personal in my town that was like well known. And they came and did like, four or five sessions with her when she was, a puppy. And it was really to teach me what to do. So I think we could definitely even add like a segment on, I am certainly not a dog trainer by any means, but I would love to share like some of the things that helped her because she, her a little bit of her background. She was abused before I got her, so she was very hand reactive. She's a protective breed to begin with, so she can be very scary and intimidating to people. So a lot of the training that we did with her was to just make her okay with just people coming to the door. Um, so yeah, I would love to, do something on that and talk about training and what's worked, maybe some things that have worked for you with your dogs, or maybe some things that haven't worked. I think that's important too, like that, even we're talking about like kids and, people and how, everyone's different and all these families are different. And I think sometimes people forget that dogs can all be different too. So like what works with one dog may not work with another dog, and cats too, same thing.
Yeah. And then just like humans, there is a lot of supplements and things out there in food and dog food. I mean, I lost one of my dogs last year to cancer. It came on so fast. He died within 3 days of his diagnosis. And it wasn't even a week after my sister, who had a different breed, but a male dog, the same age, died of the same type of cancer. So I think that just like humans with all these supplements and processed food, I think that we should definitely dive into this. We should definitely do some research. It's too bad I don't have Caesar Milan's phone number because I would give him a call.
I know we could interview him.
I mean, he's just, I wish he could come to my house and teach my puppy, not to destroy my couch, but that's wishful thinking. But I mean, I think that this could be a very helpful episode, and maybe we can open this up to if people want to send in helpful videos. That way, we can share with other people. Someone has a 2-year-old German Shepherd and was charging at other dogs during the walk. What did they do? And actually take a video of what they did and what actually helped. Because I think that's the other thing. It's easy to read like something on ChatGPT. Oh, let's follow these 3 steps. Let's walk this way and hold the leash that way. It's so much easier for us to actually see how it works.
Yeah, definitely. And like there are a few, like there are some good sites and videos too. Like there's a guy that I follow. I think he's on either Facebook or TikTok. I can't remember. And he does have like a thing that you can buy, but he also will just post little clips. And I've learned so much just like from some of his little clips. Like so even, kind of maybe sharing some of the people that, you've watched that actually worked and are legit.
Yeah, and then also sharing which vet offices, because I think a lot of times people are distrusting of certain situations, you know, when they get like an $800 bill and they're like, well, I just brought my dog in for a well visit. Do I really need all these things? And I actually know a very reputable vet. Um, I know her personally and professionally, and I think that she would be a good ally here. I think that she might be open to having these conversations because it's important for people to know. And I know that a lot of these vet places, you know, are part of corporations and they just want the money. They're not invested in your actual pet. So I think that would be good as well.
Yeah, I'm sure she could probably help navigate a little bit of like what are really required tests for like a normal checkup and what's not. Cause I feel like that's when they try to get you to like, they'll try to get me a lot with my dog on, oh, like, let's give this flea and tick thing or this heartworm thing or this or that. And it's like, she's already got something. Like, I don't need extra or changing it or, you know, they're always trying to add something. So maybe just even kind of navigating what's a normal vet visit look like with no concerns, right? Like, because if there's, you know, if there's concerns, things are going to come up. But like, what like a normal looks like, and even like, I think what comes up for me too is vets that are good with certain breeds. Because, like I said, I have a guardian breed. She's very large, and I'm not completely thrilled with my vet right now. I mean, I've been going to this vet for a very long time with all of my animals, and they've been great. And like the cost piece of it, I've never had issues, which is kind of why I stay. But they're very afraid of my dog. So I have to drug her and muzzle her and like all the things to bring her for a checkup, where I feel like there may be another place that may be more open to larger dogs and not be so like, she doesn't try to attack them or anything. They're just, she's very big and they're afraid of her. So I think, you know, even sharing um vets in New England that are, you know, good for specific breeds.
I completely agree because the male dog that we lost 2 years ago, um, he's not as big as your dog, but he had a lot of fears. And one of the fears is going to the vet because the place that he was going to as a puppy, what they would do is they would take him in the back. So I had no idea what they were doing. And they did something because he was so fearful of them that even when I walked him through the store to the place to distract him, he lost it. And they would make me pay for these drugs and the muzzles and all this. And then he still would lose his mind. And their response to this is to have three people pin him down. And I'm like, how is this helpful? So I found another vet and they introduced me to such a thoughtful way of helping dogs that are fearful. And they call it happy visits. And they invited us as new clients to bring our dog in for happy visits. And all that you do is you go into the office, and every person there would greet him with a treat and pet him, and he would wiggle his little butt. And
Oh.
he got to explore the office without a leash on and just check everything out. And every person that greeted him would get down on their knees and would pet him and give him love and attention. And we would do this several times a week for a couple months until he associated this place, you know, with something he didn't need to be afraid of. And for the rest of his life, which was cut short, he did amazing going to this office.
Oh, I love that. I've never heard of that before. What a great idea.
I never heard of it before this experience. And the vet that I was referring to earlier is a vet there. And it's just, they, there have been times where I've been worried about one of my pets and I would call crying like heavily because I was so worried and concerned. I would bring my dog in there. I knew that there would be a $75 charge just to bring the dog through the door. I would go in, the vet would take time out of their day and just come in, look my pet once over and say, "I know this is stressful. I know that you're worried, but everything is okay." And then I would leave thinking I have to put up the money and they wouldn't even charge me for it because they care so much about the pets as they come in the door. So it does take a while to find it, but when you find it, it's like I would be so happy to share this vet with other people that are in my area.
Yeah, that sounds like a great vet, and I'm sure there's definitely more out there like that. Like you said, it's just going to different places and trying and getting reviews and recommendations.
Yeah, I mean, how simple is that? Happy visits?
Right? I know, it seemed like
I mean, they should be doing that with toddlers that, are climbing up the wall screaming because they're afraid to get a shot or a throat culture or something.
Yeah, that's a great idea for the little ones too.
Yeah. Oh boy. We've covered a lot so far. What else do we got, Max?
Looks like we're going to talk about navigating the medical world and advocating for yourself as a patient and
Okay.
yep, specific issues and experiences with hospitals, medical facilities. I know, Elle, you can kind of share some of your experiences that you've had over the years with the different hospitals and medical facilities, at least in New England.
Yes, unfortunately, I am a professional in this world. Um, I've been a patient for 41 years. Well, I'm old.
Right.
Um, and things have changed since I was a kid. I would say that the research and the technology has definitely improved, but the standard of care has gone down, which is really sad. This is another situation where a lot of it's corporate, a lot of it's money, lack of bedside manner when hospitals are making decisions, when it comes to supplies and things that a patient would need when they came to the hospital. It's it's 10 times worse now than it was when I was a kid, and maybe it was because I was in pediatric places, but I would think that especially when you have a serious illness, your least worry or concern would be, you know, the bed that you're going to be in for days or weeks or months waiting for like a transplant um or other things for long-term situations or operations. I mean, I could go on for days about experiences I've had being admitted to hospitals and the mattress, the sheets, the toilet paper is like paper towels, things like that. Um,
Well, and
I
you touched on something too. I think just the lack of empathy. You mentioned it earlier, but I think it falls into this as well. I think a lot of people working in the medical field have lost some of their empathy.
yeah, it's become very robotic, and um, I know that my perspective on all this is probably not going to be average because I have such a medical complexity. So I'll try to keep this very generalized. But when you go into the hospital or to a doctor's office, my experience and other people that I've talked to, it's everything is just very robotic. They're not looking at you like a patient. They're looking at you in other ways. And it's really disconcerting. It really doesn't take much that when you're the first person to see the patient to ask how they're feeling, it doesn't take much to listen when they say, I have swelling in this arm, so take my blood pressure on the other arm, but don't squeeze too hard. Someone that has had bad experiences with IVs, it doesn't take much to say, well, let me find a different way so I don't have to, blow up your veins or something like that. Um, and honestly, I don't really think the hospitals care too much, or the medical facilities don't care too much when a patient a patient complains. I think that the only way to make changes right now is if enough people voice their issues to, like, the board of directors or the hospitalists or the office managers. That's the only time they're ever going to make changes here. um, I know that a lot of times I hear that people wish that I could advocate for them, and I always say, you have my number, but you really have to be your own advocate, and I learned to be my own advocate at a very young age. um, yes, they are doctors, yes, they have degrees, but they don't know everything. You have to say the whys, the how comes. You have to say, okay, well, this is where I'm coming from, and I need you to listen. So your profession may say this is what you do, but I'm the patient, and you need to listen to what I'm willing and able to do in these situations. Um, let's
Yeah,
see.
I think that'll be definitely helpful. I know that you have a lot of knowledge around that, and even I've had experiences with family members where they've had diagnoses, and I think sometimes you don't know what to ask, and you don't know, like you said, like how to advocate for yourself. So I think that'll be very helpful to listeners to just kind of get some tips on even just like general questions that you can ask, like you said, the why, the how, and I think also we can touch on like the mental health piece of it too, and the lack of services for people who have mental health challenges and crises, and what it kind of looks like for them when they go to the hospital.
Yeah, and I've also witnessed that there is such a lack of mental health help for teenagers right now, because it is so much more complex to help and treat a teenager that most providers don't want to do it. And I actually had this conversation with a provider, and she says that she doesn't even know of anyone in the past 5 years that will take on a teenage patient, because there's such a fine line between behavior and mental health that they don't, it's too much for them to go there, to cross that line. And unless your teenager is, high on drugs or suicidal, there are no facilities that will help in a crisis as well. And that's kind of scary and concerning for me and for people that I know that are struggling with their teenagers right now.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the mental health crisis is just growing. And especially with that, it's that middle school, high school is when it really starts.
Yeah, and if you don't have the resources that you need at that time, what are you supposed to do? You don't want to turn your teen into the police, because then they have a record. The schools are honestly no help with these situations, because once they walk out of that building, the schools claim that they have no responsibility, and I honestly agree with them. I don't think this should be a matter for school. I just wish that the mental health, community did work with the school systems to help parents and teens with this stuff.
Yeah, I agree. And most schools have like a school psychologist or an advocate. And again, like you said, though, they'll help in school, but once they leave school, they're not very, at least in my own experiences, they don't share many resources or try to help you outside of the school setting.
Same here. Definitely not helpful. And both you and I have worked in these professions before, and I would definitely say in the past 15 years, it has gone downhill. It used to be that you had the resources. It used to be you knew the person or number to call. It's not the same now.
No, it's definitely not. and the needs higher and the resources are lower, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, what are you supposed to do? Lie and say that your kid tried to kill themselves just to get them some help? I mean, that's not the answer.
No, definitely not. We don't know what the answer is, but yeah, it we'll definitely can touch on that too, and maybe do what we can to find some resources.
Yeah, yep. I mean, have you ever been a parent where your kid is in crisis and your insurance is limited? So you call the insurance company and say, where can I bring my kid for mental health help? And then give you a list of 10 providers. And then you call 10 of them, and only one of them will accept your kid's insurance. And then you set up an appointment, and then the provider says, well, it appears that your kid has behavioral issues, so I'm not equipped to help them. Sorry.
Yeah, that's just ridiculous to me.
I can't.
Like
It's
unacceptable.
I'm not laughing. It's just pathetic.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I think again that we can tie back into our parenting, like we can tie some of that into the parenting and like what you can kind of do as a parent. There's not much, but coping too. Like how do we cope as parents? Do it, on the outside, watching your kid maybe go through something that's really, really hard and you feel like you can't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard so many stories, like really hard stories to listen to about really good parents. Parents, like that have stacked care for their kids, have gone above and beyond anything they could think of to give their kids help. And the mental health field is just failing them. And it we can even tie it into the bullying and the cyberbullying. Like, try being a teenager who is having all these issues and then getting bullied on the side or getting cyberbullied, and then the police say there's nothing we can do about it, and their only recommendation is to say, oh, well, you can file a lawsuit in civil court. It's like, what does this world expect of parents? And then they want to take women's rights away when a woman decides that she is not mentally or physically or financially able to bring another human into this world, and they're going to take those rights away. Like, it's just we're in the upside down, Max.
Yeah, yeah, we definitely are. We definitely are.
We got to keep running up that hill. That's what Kate Bush does. Oh my goodness, I could go on for days about this.
Yes, I know we could. We could. But well, we want to thank everyone for listening. There'll definitely be more to come. We're going to be, diving deeper into all of these topics that we talked about, possibly some more. We're open to new topics and hearing from all of you on like what you want to discuss. And again, we're going to just be sharing our opinions, providing facts, and giving you guys as much resources as we can.
Yep, we'll have our Facebook up and running shortly, so make sure to check it out there. This is our pilot, so bear with us with technical and, you know, dog barking and all that. But we'd love to hear some feedback, even if you don't agree with some of the things we say. Just be kind. And we can't wait for our next episode, which should be airing next Sunday at 2 p.m. And do your best to get through the day, one day at a time.
Yes. Yep. Do something for yourself today.
Yes, be kind. See you, well, next week. You'll be hearing from us next week. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.